That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Welcome to episode 158 of That's a Shame. Hello, me hearties. Welcome aboard the good ship. Shame?
Oh no, it's horrible.
That skeleton. Right, it's us. That was just some Halloween atmosphere I was conjuring. In fact, maybe we'll keep it on a low level throughout the episode. Maybe we
need. No,
just to keep it on
these
a creepy
copyright-free
vibe.
things. You know, someone's put hard work into that. And we don't want to.
No, but they are asking that we use it, and look, I'm going to credit it now verbally. It's copyright-free music by Royska Sounds. Releases, they're free to be used and monetized and user-generated content. That's what we've got here. Welcome back to episode 158. I'm Isaac. Do your Halloween name?
I'm Spooky Declan.
It gets me every time. How are you feeling? Pretty
hungover.
Scared?
Oh yes, scared.
Scary is what I was going for.
Oh, I'm feeling scary.
Yeah, because we don't want to position ourselves as the cowardly fearies.
Oh no, we're not.
We're the fearers.
Yeah, we're not fear cucks.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Now this isn't quite scary enough for me. I'm going to go to another video. I won't be crediting this one unless it's really good. So far, it's not.
Free horror.
And Halloween sounds.
It makes it sound like
this is
Halloween sounds and horror are just are separate things.
Yeah, now I think our listeners are an astute bunch, and I think they would have picked up already that this is yet another of October, the spookiest month the Lord gave us.
What?
Another of October's big scare episodes, and that's what we have been calling them throughout. We've been calling them that since the start of the show. As far as I remember, at least.
Well, I don't remember well enough to say differently.
I don't listen back. Now, how are you keeping?
Personally?
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, no, professionally.
Professionally, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and personally, privately?
Oh,
really good.
We won't worry about that.
Well, October's a scary month for our personal lives, that's for sure.
Is it?
Well, it will be.
It has been.
God, that was a little moment there that I felt feared by. Was that
some free horror, or was that Halloween sounds?
That was Halloween sounds.
Okay.
The horror is more like cackles, scrapes. The Halloween sounds.
What about
be more
woos?
Woo can be like a woo. That's horror, and then a Halloween sound would be like woo, like that. Like someone's come out of a closet like this.
Well, that's despicable. That's
really good.
You've got some free horror and snuff sounds.
I really, really appreciate the vibe that it's adding, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. Now, today, listeners of That's a Shame, three of you that remain aboard the ship, ever sinking into the sea, we have yet another horror-themed episode, and I've prepared that out of the goodness of my heart. I had help from one of our professional cleaning friends, Matthew Greensmith.
Oh, can I just say, what a bang-up job he did.
God, he did, didn't he?
Because this is the first episode of the podcast since we had some...
Sorry, can you react to that and be like, first episode of the podcast?
Okay. Do you want to do it again? Go on. Oh no, you've gone back. Quick, find it.
I'll go to a random bit. Ready, go.
Oh.
It's
the first episode since...
Since what?
Since we received some
it can be normal.
Very good news.
Ooh.
Oh.
It sounds like someone shut himself.
We got our deposit back.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
And one saw that. And we got very drunk to celebrate.
Well, how else are you going to celebrate this?
We got very drunk and I was very ill from work the next day. In one of those staggering coincidences that only the Lord gives us.
Beyblade factors off the chain, isn't it?
Can't get enough of it.
Oh, I'd never heard of this Beyblade factor before you explained it.
Well,
apparently it's a known thing. Where it's like, it's a scam on behalf of capital to keep the working man down. That's just how I've seen it. That's maybe
that doesn't sound like capital.
That might be a leftist kind of loony left take on it, but you see it another way. I'm sure. You see it as a valid exercise in keeping people at bay.
Well, you've got to make sure, because think of all the money they're losing by not paying me.
You've got to
to be there
punish
that day
people
for that unpaid sickness.
who won't be the cog that you need them to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So we got that back. Today you met our elusive landlord lady, Miss Regina. We won't say her surname. Well, God,
It's
I think
a
we
slur
said it last time, but we won't say it anymore. And she's given a very generous offer with regards to us getting a dishwasher in the
Yeah, well, you've wanted to get a dishwasher since we moved in, haven't you? Because it's
it's because no one else does any washing up in the whole house.
well, it's a tedious process, the old washing
I
up.
do hate it.
And we've lived for 2 years with the dishwasher.
Yeah,
and that was very
accustomed
good.
to a certain standard of excellence.
Now, Regina, she's come round.
Yeah.
She's had a little look
Yeah.
at the plans.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, she didn't seem knocked down by them.
No, well, she wouldn't be. She's experienced.
She's been a landlord for 30 years.
And one of the things that I guess must be rocking the landlord's boat at the moment, the collective good shit landlord, is these new laws that you've told me
Have you heard about the new laws?
I honestly had not, and I pride myself, generally speaking, on keeping up with new laws.
With all the laws.
New developments, generally speaking, but this one had passed me by.
Yeah, well, and I'll be honest, I wasn't sure. I haven't actually looked into exactly what they are.
No, well, she's told you.
I can only imagine they're punitive beyond belief, because poor Regina,
Yeah.
well, we pay her what?
Oh, £1 million a day.
17.25 a month.
Something like that, yeah.
Between us to live here. But bless her, she's not, because of these new laws,
Yeah.
she's not making a penny off of this place.
Not a single...
Not one.
That makes me feel bad, and we were just throwing around the idea before, because we're charitable guys. I know you give to the deaf children, I give to some expensive dogs, and maybe if we could chuck in like some extra rent on top of our obligated payment, just to keep her afloat.
It would only be right, because otherwise we're going to be in the weird situation of being richer than our landlady.
Oh, I'd hate that.
And that's just such a
Such a
kind of
burden.
perversion of the
It'd
system.
be a real Halloween nightmare, like this sound will convey.
Oh, that's very mournful.
Yeah. That would be what it was like, wouldn't it? That would be like us at the funeral of landlady Prime.
So what she suggested for
A compromise.
Yeah, and that is what it is. It's the best form of negotiation, as we've seen with the Brexit.
Yeah, it's all about meeting in the middle.
And so what she said was, we can indeed have a dishwasher.
Yeah, because what I
in the flat.
proposed was like, either we can buy one and get it put in, then we'll just take it with us when we go, because obviously if I buy it, it's my dishwasher.
Well, it would be your dishwasher.
And then this was a nice like extending of the olive branch hand of friendship to Regina. I said, look, maybe you'd like to get in on it. Some favourable split, probably in your direction, let's be honest, because everything else is in the world. And then when we leave...
Apart from the new laws.
Apart from the new laws, yeah. I didn't take those into account. That's probably why she balked at the idea. When we leave, we'll leave the dishwasher there as well, because it's obviously a very attractive addition to an otherwise kind of
any house.
disappointingly fridge-noised kitchen with no lights.
So Regina didn't quite go for either of those, but what she did was she craftily
forged an option C.
Yeah, and she took bits from Plan A and bits from Plan B, and
Like
she's
the A-team.
a real kind of synthesis
beautiful
took place. And the compromise that she came up with, and I think listeners that you're going to love this, is that we would pay to buy it and to have it installed.
Yeah.
And but then when we left at the end of the tenancy, we would obviously just leave it there.
Well, she'd own it.
Well, it would be her
I
dishwasher.
guess it's because anything that comes into her flat, which this is, well, it's hers.
As is all of the rest of the stuff we brought in.
Yeah. Maybe she'll let us take
Because
some.
as she said, like, because this is our foolishness. This is where Regina, she knows the laws better than us.
Yeah,
if we'd mentioned this before we moved in.
Yeah, and I did.
But
I guess I didn't mention it in accordance with some of the new laws. I didn't put it in a telegram.
No, and Regina, she's been a landlord for 30 years. She knows how this goes.
She's been around the block.
If we're going to improve her property...
Yeah. Well, that's
it.
on us.
That's
that's our cost.
That was
bear.
literally her stance.
Well, it's a good stance, and we'll really see how that plays out in the coming days and weeks and months.
Spooky weeks,
Well, not years, because we obviously won't be allowed to live here more than another couple of months. For
Should
sure.
have had enough.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to stop the Halloween bed there because it's served its purpose for me. It's generated all the atmosphere I need. Like an adrenaline shot to the heart, I now feel fully in the Hallow spirit. You?
Oh, God, I'm brimming with it.
I could see it. You've cosplayed as a pumpkin today.
No, that's just me.
Okay, wow, that's an interesting choice. Now, today, well, let's cast our minds back. Last week, we looked at...
went through some incredible spook content.
We were learning about the naysayers, the people out there for whom Halloween is but a distraction, but an obstacle on the long road to Christmas, which they see as the end point of the year.
Yeah.
The Holy of Holies, apart from Easter, which I'm told is even holier, but certainly less fun.
Oh, much.
Yeah. Halloween for them is just a problem to be solved, a fly to be swatted. And we looked at some of their foolish ideas and plans, and we looked at how to counter them with great knowledge, such as how to build an egg cocoon, an alien egg cocoon, with thick rubber latex vein.
And what I liked about the alien egg cocoon tutorial was the incredible depth of detail into how to create it, but the concurrent lack of any indication as to what it was or why.
Yes, or some of the crucial steps where it was like there was a lot of setup, there was a lot of like there was a lot of like gilding that alien egg lily,
and then there was just a lot of it around.
Yeah.
And I personally thought we might have missed, but that could have just been your laptop.
It could have been, yeah. It could have been anyone's guess. This week we're going to take a very different approach to Halloween, and it's one based, of course, on respect for the season, because you've got to respect the dead.
That's what we've got.
Yeah, you've got to respect them. And who's more dead?
Not just the dead, but the ghouls and the ghosts and the phantoms and the monsters.
Yeah, I suppose the living dead, you might say, or the unliving alive.
Yeah.
Maybe some mixture of the two. This week, we're going to be looking at the murky territory that is the urban myth. We're urban guys. We live in the urban environment. Each day, we travel on urban transport, the tube, the bus, the street, to urban jobs such as utilities or teaching or anything else that we might care to mention, photographing abandoned buildings for unknown terrorist orgs.
We love doing that.
And as such, we encounter a great deal of these sometimes myths, sometimes legends, sometimes all too real creatures of the night and the day. Because not every urban myth happens at night, and that's something we're going to look at. I've compiled a list of 11 of the greatest urban legends this country, this land has ever come across, alongside and randomly generated, courtesy of springhole.net, series of...
Shout out to the Springhole lads, well done.
Series of, I guess, wildcard editions ranging from, for example, creepypasta and horror creeps to spooky and quite possibly haunted houses, causes of death, paranormal and weird events, plot punter, horror edition, and creepypasta supernatural horror story prompt generator. And by combining one of these scary guys or girls with one of these randomly generated prompts, we're going to try and develop a backstory for these characters to really get to understand the guy behind the idea, the real meat on the skeletal bones of today's urban legends.
That first little tab on the Wikipedia that says background, where no one's really gone on there, that's what we're doing. That's the foundational work that sets up for the discography, because you just can't quite remember what that album was called that they released.
Exactly. Now, I want to start off simple, and there's no particular order to these, other than perhaps we could invent our own order, which is severity of evil.
Okay.
And maybe because I reckon, like, when you're a kid, some of the first urban myths we learn about are Mother Goose, Ugly Duckling, these kinds of urban myths.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Urban myth?
It was back in the day, yeah. Because back in the old days, the Beanstalk Town, that was probably like their Paris.
Right, I see. Yeah. I never thought of it as an urban myth. I thought of it
urban is a very relative term, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but I suppose in my head an urban legend is something that's purportedly true.
Yeah, and so are all of those. So that's where that comes from.
Mother Goose.
Yeah, she's very true.
She was a real...
Well, all geese have a mother.
And Jack and Jill, are they...
Well, I didn't even mention them. I was talking about
I'm asking, like, do they count? Is that
they
an urban
went
myth?
up the hill to fetch a pail of water. What's unbelievable about that?
No, but I'm just saying, I didn't know.
He fell down and broke his crown.
So they're
and Jill, naturally, she will come tumbling after. It's a suicide pact.
And so really, they're a kind of Adam and Eve figure.
They are. They fell from grace because the Lord pushed them off that hill.
Why? Jill just fucking booted him.
He said, "Thou shalt not crown unto thyself without me," and pointed it in his own chest.
And they done it behind his back.
Yeah, they crowned each other.
Fucking hell, they deserved everything they got.
Dickie Clive is one of our first mans of myth and legend. And you'll remember the legend of Dickie Clive from your youth, of course.
Yeah, it was a big one out in Essex.
And
Dickie
just
Clive.
to refresh your memory, there are kind of three elements to the Dickie Clive story, and maybe you can kind of synthesize these into your own version of how you remember it. Obviously, someone from the past appeared in a van, and then people are known to vanish into the air in the outskirts of a town. That can be any town.
Now, sorry, say that one again for me. People are
known to vanish into the air in the outskirts of a town.
I see.
And lastly of all, someone appeared out of nowhere in the subdivision. So it was kind of in those murky waters that Dickie Clive made his name. And if you could just drop us the backstory there.
Well, Dickie Clive was he was a handyman, wasn't he?
I think it, well, not necessarily handyman, because I don't know that he was necessarily what he purported to be, but,
no, but
he traded out.
You know what I mean, yeah. And he did, I don't want to, I'm not defending the man, but he did do some legitimate handyman work as well. So yeah, get that right.
He knew what he was doing. He knew his way around.
He wasn't, this wasn't a problem for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, he had some friends, just like, Dracula.
Yeah.
If you're, as long as you're not Van Helsing.
Yeah. Or
you're probably fine, unless you're just a 17-year-old girl
with blood, like that.
And as a virgin.
Yeah, but and your blood has to be really good. Otherwise, he's not.
You know what? He's not as discerning as you might think.
Really, that doesn't.
And that's what happens when you have hairy palms. Quite a horrible.
No, it's good. So,
sorry.
So Dickie
Clive, he would tour the town.
Yeah, which was Swindon. And the surrounding. Well, I guess what we now know as Swindon.
Yeah, because this was
It was yonks ago. It was honestly ages.
You can't. I wouldn't want to put a date on it. But he did have a van.
Yeah.
Crucially, so.
But when we say van, I mean that's a term that comes back.
It was a Ford Transit.
Okay.
But this was honestly ages ago.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting about Dickie Clive is that his name was Steve. Now that, I guess sometimes when these stories get passed down, details will change. But even on his own gravestone in those days, he was known as Steve.
Yeah, but the thing is that Dickie and Clive were never about his first name. Like, Clive obviously is the surname. His name was Steve Clive. Classic Steve Clive.
2 VEs and 2 names. That's
Dickie, though, was more about his penchant.
His cock, I suppose, is way.
I was going. I think we had a different version, but remember
go on.
Because remember I grew up further out from London, you grew up in a much more urban area where the myths tend to be more shocking because the people are more base.
Well, I suppose. And what was your version? It was about his.
What he would do is he used to pretend that he had what is referred to as a Dickie tummy.
Oh, he ate dick.
No, he would just vomit on
passers
on the people in the van.
The people in the van.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So he'd trap people in his van and then vomit all over them.
As you'll remember, he would come round to your house to do a bit of handymanning.
Yeah.
And then
handymaning, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to pull you up on the pronunciation.
Well, I believe actually it were pronounced handymaning. Back in the days.
Yeah.
He'd come round and the interesting thing about him is that as much of a monster as he may have been, still kind of a stand-up guy. He would do the job.
That's good.
He would do the job for you, but he would then also put you into the van.
But he wasn't charging you then? Was the payment the only payment he expected was not souls or blood, it was just be vomited on and in? Well,
yeah, and get in the van. But I suppose...
That's just for cleanliness.
I suppose the shady aspect of it is that on the invoice it did just say 50 quid. And so people were like, yeah, sure. And then he was like, I don't know. They give him the money and he'd just throw it away.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, it's not... And he'd go in the van.
And that's why his cause of death was, it was stroke. Yeah.
So it was tragic because what used to happen is he'd drive you out to the outskirts of Swindon, and people would, scare quotes, vanish into the air.
Yeah, that's
and what they say is that on the many roundabouts of Swindon to this day, you can still smell the vomit from the dicky tummy.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is about this, like, this vomiting is, as you'll know, because you love vomiting.
Yeah.
And that's not even, that's not a lie, listeners. He actually really does like it.
If I have to, I'm going for it big time.
Yeah. He's a pro Chunder member of the team. No, you do.
No, I don't.
See, you said that about bog last week, and now you've started using it all the time.
It makes me sick.
You keep
to the
talking about bogs and turds.
That's such slander. Can we just look? I'm stopping the Halloween sounds. Would never use either of those horrific words.
Bog, you have been using.
I have not.
You have.
Only in irony.
Oh, I see.
Back to the story.
Fucking PewDiePie over here.
So I remember the mayor of Swindon, he was out just opening a new roundabout, I think, on the day that Dickie departed. And
well, the thing about the vomiting is that it lowers all those electrolytes that you need.
Yeah, exactly.
And that...
Well, it's stressful on the circulatory system as well, isn't it? Because you say, like, you can sometimes break a blood vessel in your eye. And you know what the eye's close to? Well, it's the brain.
And you know what they say? It's the first sign.
Yeah.
It's not in that acronym, but it is the first sign.
And there was something about the steering lock in those vans that are made for handymen that I guess he locked it into position. It maybe was just on cruise control and it was just going round the roundabout for many hours. And then the mayor spoke up on a big megaphone as the townsfolk gathered around to watch this horrific circus, this carousel of death. And he said, "There strokes Dickie Steve. Long may he reign." And that was it.
And not many were expecting the mayor to come out as a pro Dickie Steve candidate. But I'll tell you what, he was re-elected for the next 5 terms.
And that was the story of Dickie Steve. Now, next up, I'm going to just skip ahead.
Just get yourself some
copyright free. I'm going to just mix up the sounds here. Ooh, what's this one? It's got a kind of cackling quality to it, and that's because we're talking now about the Wheels Up Witch. Now that's a hyphenated term, Wheels Up Witch, and if you need your memory jogged, look, I'd be happy to do it. You may remember that she lived in a large house with a quaint atmosphere, in excellent condition, the interior done in dark colours, the yard tiny and severely overgrown. Also, now there's a big also, neighbours say that the old occupant used to perform strange rituals there.
Oh, not strange rituals.
Really strange ones. Now, not just your run-of-the-mill strange, like, I don't know, Sunday Mass. This was properly odd rituals.
How does it compare to the ritual that we did in the old flat last year, further Spooktober?
The wine ritual. It was something to do with every good poet, wasn't it? Like summoning a dead poet?
It was to summon the ghost of a poet that had died there.
It's specifically like on the table that we chose, and we didn't find out quite how specific a ritual it was. It was a much weirder, I have to say, what she was getting up to in it was the forest, I suppose, is where she was. The Forest of Dean.
That is the classic. I just want to check here.
Yeah.
Because, you've done well to get the... Well, actually, this one doesn't say rights free on it anymore.
No, well, sue us. No, don't. Don't.
You've done well to sort of source on the most part.
It's phase.
Sort of copyright free. I just want to make sure that this urban myth, it's not any kind of infringement upon the Blair Witch Project territory.
No, because they're very different.
Because currently it's a witch who is doing spooky goings on and rituals in the woods.
Well, I don't believe the Blair Witch did anything ever.
Do you not?
Actually, the story of the Blair Witch is a story about the European fear of itself as a destructive colonial force.
No, is it?
Yeah.
And that's why they said it in the US.
Where it's the proto-Europe, isn't it? We've always said.
Proto-Europe?
Yeah, they're the new Europeans.
Oh, I see.
That's what that magazine's about.
It's about the Blair Witch. It really went off the rails. 2 years after the referendum, still no change. They just did not know. There's only so many times you can retweet the FBPE people.
The Wheels Up Witch, she started in skate parks, that's for sure. And it wasn't just skateboards and roller skates that she was attracted to. It was really anything with those very particular kind of bearing wheels. That was horrid. I'm talking shopping trolleys. I'm talking some very bizarrely adapted surfboards. Some of those safety tricycles that you give to young children and saw puppets. And it was to those that she kind of laid claim, I guess, in her demonic arts. And of course, that's going to run
and just
head first into issues.
Refresh just refresh my memory very briefly.
Why?
Yeah.
Who's to say? With a witch of this caliber.
That's the good thing about urban myths is that you don't have to know that.
Look, I'd love to know that, and much as study has been done into the whys.
And that was by yourself, wasn't it?
Well, I've written several blog posts on it, and I stream nightly on Mixer to an audience of up to 2
in a plague doctor mask,
just expounding some of my big theories. But as of yet, none of them have kind of kindled much in the way of investigation. The Wheels That Witch for me is a story that's less about the witchcraft, because you know what, I'm going out on record, I don't believe she had any special powers, unless you count mental illness.
And boy, in this household, do we?
God, well, it unlocks a whole new realm of worries,
and it really makes me question the use of the word witch here. It makes it sound like it was some old school misogyny,
because the word witch has since time immemorial been used to demonise powerful women. From
would you say that she was
to Hillary Clinton?
Would you say that she was hysterical?
I would say not that I
was she driven mad by the having of the womb?
Oh, I just don't think she was, but I think laymen, and I use the word mun advisedly, not lay women, not lay NBs,
not lay people.
Yeah, not lay persons, but laymen would have found her particularly threatening, because she was the Tony Hawk of the woods.
And we can't forget, batshit crazy.
Fucking
lunatic.
But God, could she kickflip?
She could kickflip, and she had the most incredible ability to just hold all of these wheeled toys.
Yeah.
And I suppose more than the taking, it was the taunting that really set her apart as a devious mind.
Yeah.
Because she would stand there like a fucking
like that.
No. Wasn't what I was going to say.
Sorry.
I don't know enough to say that she wasn't doing that.
I believe she was. There's not a lot of video. Well, there's no video evidence, because it was a long past time.
We're talking the early days of skateboard.
Honestly, 95.
This is like minutes after Marty McFly invents
Underground 1. Honestly, very retro. And but
she would stand there like adorned, like a big skating tree, just dangled.
Often nude.
Instead of baubles, it would just be like the
breasts.
There were the breasts.
Pendulous.
But also sort of adorning those.
Yeah.
Sometimes covering tastefully, sometimes grotesquely promoting.
Yeah.
Would just be like the odd bike wheel, maybe
sort
a handlebar in between the legs.
And you've got to assume, obviously her goal was clear. She wanted 360 degrees of revolution. If she fell on any angle, she'd be able to roll straight on down the street.
A bit like the Bat bike from The Dark Knight.
Just like that. And then some have said that's where they got the idea for it from.
Again, remind me, just a quick refresh of the memory. How did she pass on?
Well, the cause of death was a peculiar incident involving a plush dinosaur and an acorn. And obviously never the twain shall meet.
And obviously we need to say no more. Everyone knows.
You can't insert both and hope to tell the tale.
Can I interrupt briefly the urban myths thing to bring up something else that I think
well, let me pause there.
Yeah, do a quick pause of that.
Okay, this is just... we're out of the Halloween. I just want to make that clear, everyone. We are out of it.
Not as out of it as we could be, because it's still something quite spooky.
Right, go on.
What about the fact that Daniel Kaluuya is making a live-action movie about Barney the dinosaur?
I do really worry about that idea, yeah. And I worry in not the sense that it's going to kill anyone, but in the sense that it will. It will
do that exactly.
It will probably.
I have a feeling it's going to be frame for frame remake of the Joker, but with the dinosaur.
As the city.
Did you see his weird quote where he was something like, "We'll see if I love you, you love me," is a mantra that can get us through these dark times. And you're like, I don't think Barney
ever pretended to be the savior.
that it was a cure-all. Whilst there are obvious parallels, he himself never considered himself to be a Christ-like figure.
I don't know about that, actually. I never watched Barney a great deal, but what I know of him is that he was an immense narcissist, to the point of kind of cult-like status. Cult, that was. And I do expect that if he were alive today and hadn't perished in terrible incident
pulmonary fibrosis.
Cause of death was blood loss resulting from a severed foot. If that hadn't got to him first, then I can only assume he'd be running for the GOP in 2000 and maybe now. Maybe he'd call an early election.
So that Republicans would be running 2 dinosaurs.
To Halloween. Next up on our list is someone altogether different from the 2 we've explored so far.
And who are they?
Just to recap, we've had Dickie Clive,
Yep.
he of the van and the stroke and the vomiting mishaps, and the Wheels Up Witch, she of the tattooing herself with, well, adorning herself with festoons of wheelish nonsense.
I just realised that you never actually went into any detail on your kind of South London Dickie Clive Dick angle.
Yeah, well, he would just wank off in the supermarkets.
And there was no van.
There was, honestly, the man barely had arms after what he was doing, interfering with himself.
He only needed the one.
Bicep. Next up we have Santa Diablo, the devil's large lad.
The devil's large lad.
Yeah, that's how we knew him, at least, growing up in the fields of England, where I'm from.
Oh, right.
The field towns. The simple rustic village towns.
When were you there?
Men would gather around the fire, women too, children even, sometimes animalia. And we'd get together to tell of
the devil's great
Santa
big boy.
Diablo, the devil's large lad. There he goes, riding off into the sunset. But you'll remember that some of the really mysterious things that happened around him. Because obviously he was canonised. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
But his very name is a contradiction. Santa comes from the word Santa, meaning Santa Claus. And Diablo, well, that's that thing that you flick into the air, meaning cool stick trick. A trail of leaves was found in the cafeteria. Something went missing from a cabinet, or cabinet. The bedroom was nearly destroyed by fire. Strange shadows were seen near the motorhome. A tractor vanished into the air near a motel on the summer solstice, and strange lights were seen over a library, also on the summer solstice. Now, I didn't see that coming, or I would have grouped them.
It was a busy solstice.
I'd have grouped them right together. But God, he caused a stir, didn't he? Riding through the meadows of England.
I can barely remember what with all this music.
Well, this was his calling card, wasn't it?
Did he just have a sort of Bluetooth speaker on the back?
He had 2 extra arms
to play it
beneath his riding arms, where he'd be, some would say, mounting the satanic steed and riding it hither and thither. Mm-hmm. The other 2 arms emerged almost from the hips. Stunty little things they were, not quite fully grown.
And sometimes they would take a break from playing this wonderful tune.
Yeah,
to just take a tractor.
Yeah, well, sometimes just fucking pull it off the.
And it was parked by the motel, as often the tractor is.
This is interesting because again, I did think this was pre-tractor days.
Farmers have to, fuck sex workers somewhere as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And how are they going to get there? Ride the horse?
Come on.
That's the devil's big boys, whatever his name is.
Santa Diablo, the devil's large lad.
Oh, the devil's large lad.
Now,
excuse
why
me.
Why was he the devil's lad, and why was he large?
Well, he was the spawn.
The
spawn of the devil.
The spermatozoic protege
of Mr. Diablo himself.
Fuck.
Mr. BLZ Bob.
That's crazy.
And the large lad.
Yeah.
He was endowed.
Yeah.
With huge
teeth.
Horns.
Well, in his mouth. I call them teeth.
Right, I see.
Yeah.
They were kind of inner horns.
Well, that's how I like to think of them at least, yeah.
And they were, in fact, so big that they were outer horns. Like a big saber-toothed
emerging
cat.
from the mouth, sometimes through the lip.
Just
sometimes back up through the cheek into the eye.
Like
and then
those,
back round.
Like those warthogs that end up dying because they
self-impale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that honestly, well, that is...
And I'm pretty sure if you check the cause of death...
Yeah. It was a beaded bracelet and a hairpin. So I guess if he hadn't used that hairpin, then the horn might not have gone through his brain. So it's a word of warning.
It's an easy,
and that's probably where that
evidence
comes from. Because I don't want to be a cynic, but I don't necessarily believe that this one's true. The whole religious angle, the spawn of Satan, it's a bit tired, isn't it?
I've heard rumblings through the grapevine that it was actually
rumblings through a grapevine,
that it's all made up by Big Solstice. Big Solstice, just to sell more tickets to the solstice.
To the summer solstice specifically.
Yeah.
With the hope that Santa Diablo, the Devil's Large Lad, might do a drive-by.
Yeah.
A ride-by.
And then, like, they get one guy, normally the fat guy from the office, the fattest person
with
from
the
office possible.
biggest, most prominent teeth.
Yeah, to just ride by. Yeah. And they get the smallest person from the office to like, sit under his coat and be the second arms, and they play this tune.
What did he used to cry when he went past? He used to have a...
He used to cry. He used to cry...
but in Spanish,
it wasn't so much a catchphrase.
Español. Yeah. Oi! Like that.
Is that Spanish?
Well, I didn't speak Spanish, but I imagine it might have
sounded like a sort of offensive Jewish.
No, it was Portuguese.
These are different things.
I call it myself.
Right, so...
Yeah. And there we have it, the legend of Dickie Rido.
Dickie Rido, the devil's big son.
Now, another of these urban... Now, this one's very much cemented in the southeast London area where I grew up.
You should probably...
Yeah, I'm happy to take the
helm
narrative lead on this one. This one is Younger Ishmael Fishfinder. Now, have I told you about him before?
Sorry, say that again?
Younger Ishmael Fishfinder.
Yes, you've mentioned something about this.
Yeah, I first heard about him. I was studying art. You know me, I'm a talented artist. I did the promo work for Abigail's Party.
You did?
Back in the day, your play that you wrote.
It somehow didn't make it to the actual final poster. I think that there was a rights issue. You wanted...
Well, I wanted a lot.
An absolute fortune.
Honestly, I wanted you to reattribute the play to me.
And poor Daisy Hale just could not release the funds.
Yeah, that will happen.
Because
I'm very difficult to work with.
They'd all been spent on dolls that friend of the show, Dan, had burnt into dust. So yeah, I think there was an issue, but it was a fantastic piece of art. And
that doesn't come from nowhere. That comes from years of study.
Graft.
Yeah, with Mr. Davies. There was Mr. Davis, Mr. Davies. Hard to tell them apart, except one's tall, one's short, one's brummy, one's scouse, one's blonde, one's got almost no hair, one's got a very pencily presence, one looks like squares came together.
Getting a real kind of Laurel and Hardy vibe.
Well, they did hate each other, so if that's the case for them, then sure, why not? And I was in Mr. Davies' art class, and I was probably learning about, I don't know, Gaudi, maybe, or Benin masks.
I don't know who these people are.
Well, they're arts, and one of them was a country just now. And my gaze, as it wandered out of the window to think on the various artworks I'd be creating that day, and then losing before I had to do any of the pencil work that made me feel sick to my stomach because I hate the feel of it. I was looking out the window, sure, but my eyes fell downward towards a table where, just there, scratched, kind of catching the light in a really beautiful, moving way, as if God had kind of set a light trap for me to notice. An artist follows the light. That's what we say. We say, follow the light, you'll find the mischief.
Chiaroscuro.
Absolutely, and also with you. And so I saw that, and I saw some scratching, some etchings is what we call it in the artwork. I don't know if you've ever experienced lino.
I don't know what that is.
So lino is a type
like
of art.
the floor.
It can be a floor. It can also be an art. And if you have it cut into a rectangle, you can chisel away at it with a metal scoop and form anything from a picture of a mouse to a picture of a rat.
Like, I know I'm not as creative as you, but you don't have to rub it in by making up types of art.
No, lino is a very big type of art.
So.
And they're etched into the table like a great lino artist from years gone by, because but this was an old etching. You could count the rings of age within it, weathered it was, sanded down by the million rubbings and potato stamps of years past. Was this graffito, I suppose, is what you would call it. You would call it. I would call it art. You might call it a graffitis.
I'd probably call it what it is, and that's vandalism.
Okay, well that's kind of a very old-fashioned attitude.
Banksy should be shot
on sight.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to argue about that. This isn't an ethical debate.
Lock him in the tower.
Okay, well, look, you make that point on another podcast. For now, we're talking about etchos and graffitis. Younger Ishmael Fish-Finder. Younger Ishmael Fishfinder. Now, do I need to explain younger to you, the provenance of that term?
No.
Good, because it comes from the culture of gangos, where you're a gang member, a gang-o, as they say. And if you're a youthful member, you're a younger. you find a gang member that you look up to, probably it'd be me, for example. So if I were a gang leader in the squad, in the youth, the NW9 Massive, for example, you come to me, you want to get involved in the gang because you're, a couple of months younger than me, a couple of weeks or something like that. You'd probably fashion yourself after like younger Isaac. I'd be older Isaac, you'd be younger Isaac.
Wow.
That's just kind of...
And I'd adopt the rest of your name as well?
No, there'd be no need for that because really we don't go by full names.
Okay.
It's about relinquishing that identity in favour of a group identity.
So I'd be younger Isaac.
Yeah, you'd probably be like just a little bit younger Isaac.
Right, okay.
And it's less about age, like I say. Like you could probably have an older younger. If I don't want to confuse you.
Oh, you already have.
If there was some young man with such strength of character that he had forged a sufficient identitarian path into the group, then you could perhaps, as an older member yourself, say, look, as a token of respect, I will be younger Ishmael Fishfinder, you be older Ishmael Fishfinder.
Like that sort of Texan boy who does all of the old Hank Williams songs.
Yeah, what's his name? Gosh, he's very creepy on Twitter. Mason, I think he's called.
Yeah, Mason.
Yes, I don't love
older
the way
Mason.
that his parents have manufactured his career and presence online.
Yeah, I'm younger Mason.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well I
look up to him.
That's worrying and bad. If I'm to describe younger Ishmael Fishfinder's presence after that day, because like I said, I hadn't heard about him in advance, I started asking around. I'm not from the area. I was a kind of itinerant educationary participant in Deptford. So I started asking around and I was met with this very weird kind of hush that was not characteristic of our friendship group at all. We were a very open, loving circle that engaged in all kinds of activities, from Foursquare to kick a penny up the wall, anything you care to mention. But when I said those words, younger Ishmael Fishfinder, YIF, as we abbreviate.
Yeah, I was going to come on to this.
People were shocked, and people were, I don't know, you ever had that experience where you say something and the air gets kind of sucked out of the room and you don't know what it is, but you know you've said something wrong. I guess when you're a child and mummy and daddy haven't been seeing eye to eye and you say, Daddy, is mummy not going to come with us to dinner tonight? And just kind of, there's a deoxygenation, I suppose. It felt like that, but for the entire playground. It was as if all 555 eyes in the school turned to me and said, no, ask no questions. We'll tell you no lies.
All 555 eyes?
Yeah. We were a weird bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an unusual place to be.
Very
near a power plant.
See, now I'm not from your
neck of the woods.
Ends.
Oh yeah, we
I
do
believe
say
they
ends.
say.
That's good. You'll make a younger Isaac now.
Thank
Just
you.
watch you.
But I have heard whisperings of the Fish Finder myself, and
well, it must have been a very different story up in Essex because you don't have gangs or culture.
No.
Yeah.
We don't.
And certainly not.
But what we do have is an understanding of the duality of man.
Okay. How's that come?
Famed for it.
How's that come specifically to the Essex area?
Because on the one side you've got London, and then on the other you've just got the sea. And so it's like the raw nature, and
of
then
London.
No,
and then the fish finding of the sea.
Yeah.
So a fish finder in your parlance, I suppose, would be a kind of a king of a village.
A kind of a literal fisherman.
Yeah, but someone presumably in the kind of in the sticks.
They'd be obscenely powerful.
They'd own all the land or the territory.
They've got all the heavies.
Yeah.
But what this means is that I heard that it was you.
That it was.
There was you.
What was me that told you about the story?
No. That you are the younger Ishmael Fishfinder.
So the next one on the list is...
That you carved that yourself in one of your first visits to the altered state.
Where is it gone? Next one on
and then you came out of the state, read it, and people would turn away from you in fear. Like they do Tyler Durden.
That's the flamenco. We just get that scary music back.
You're right, pal.
Yeah, no, I just thought we'd move on because that one got a bit... a bit weird.
Oh, sorry, no, I
was a bit
personal. Yeah, go
on. Next on the list, we've got Rory the Backwards Nonce.
So, Roy or Rory?
Yeah.
Roy Ory.
The Backwards Nonce. I'm going to give you some of the facts of his case.
Oh, I think he speaks for himself.
There was a trail of mulch. You remember that much? That mulch, I mean. Sorry, you remember that mulch?
Yeah.
The blood-stained address book was found in the men's room.
Well, where else?
The kitchen was destroyed by fire. a trowel that had been recently cleaned was found inside the bed.
Inside the bed?
Yeah. Roy the Backwards Nonce, I think he's like 1780, 1790 era. It's one of those things you can go on a tour about these days. It's already commercialised. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't feel great about the idea that people go on these like Jack the Ripper tours. These were real people that were murdered or backwards nonced.
Yeah, and
respectively.
And they're always like walking backwards, which is, you know, kind of misleading because that's not why he was called the Backwards Nonce.
No. Well, it was only because he diddled the elderly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so thereby kind of invert the nonce, because he looked the part of a nonce.
Yeah,
and it says in Pepys' diary, I think, if I pull up the quote, "Verily, unto Roy thou lookest, and whence thou did, wouldst thou see a total big nonce." August 22nd, 1798. That was.
Wow.
And so. Even Pepys, a man of particular kind of discerning eye and mind.
Pepys, let me tell you.
He knew you were a nonce.
And I tell you what, like, you don't think of him as being alive in 1798,
no.
Old Pepys, and yet he was determined.
His diary lived on.
It's like 007, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's
Pepys.
testimony to the power of the written word that, like Tom Riddle's diary, Romeo Juliet Love Jr.
keep him
lives on
alive.
Through any redhead that cares to pick it up carelessly from a cauldron. So Roy, when he'd go about town, I think he was based mostly in the East End, pretty much, now that I think about it, in the Whitehall, kind of Jack the Ripper area.
Oh, yeah.
He'd find old people's homes, what were they called back in those days? Grunge pipes.
Yeah.
Or no, like scrangly manor, something like that. It was some word that captures that kind of old, dangly arm skin.
The dilapidation of the flesh.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a workhouse for just wings flapping left, right and centre. And
those kind of like bloody like liver spots and
Well, that's what turned him on.
It is. And that's something that you personally are looking forward to, just as a side note, in your own life.
What, in what sense?
Well, being old enough to be backwards nonced.
Oh no, well that will never happen because we've stamped it out for the most part.
No, I'm not saying that you will be backwards nonced.
I've got a description of Roy that I've just found online.
Oh yeah?
Now these are the pronoun it here, and I don't know what to make of that.
Well, he doesn't deserve.
But Roy is clearly quite a gendered name traditionally.
Right, but it doesn't deserve to have any kind of recognition as being like you or me.
It looks like a crocodilian with no flesh. It has been observed in turbulent homes. Those who have encountered it report gaps in their memories, and it's said that it exudes a horrible smell. Very much its calling card there.
Well, it all adds up.
Yeah, rohypnol and body funk.
Well, if you're going to have like no skin, and you're going to nonce the elderly,
you better make the most.
And you're going to not wash, as I believe he didn't.
Yeah.
Then you are going to accrue the most dreadful of odours.
Yeah.
And you are going to be, in a sense, crocodilian, because it's like a predator.
Yeah. I guess the only benefit to this story, because this is one that, I don't know about you, I feel it on the back of my neck. There's a real, like, upsetting, visceral quality to it. To think that he walks where we walk. He probably got on the same tube trains that we did.
Back in 1798,
only back in those days, it was probably just water.
It was probably just walking along the road.
Yeah, or the Underground Road.
Oh, yeah.
The Underground Railroad. Well, not that.
Well, I think it affects you because you're so close to the average age of his victims.
But that's only because back in the 1500s when he was active, it was a long period. The average lifespan was 13, 14 at best.
Right.
And so I'm in my early 20s.
And how old was he?
Well, no one knows. That's the thing. That's why I have to assume that either he is an amalgamation of various backwards nonces from over the centuries.
Because you've got to think that, like, if he is hundreds of years old, fucking a 70-year-old is basically just noncing anyway, isn't it?
Noncing by the back door.
Yeah.
I don't stand by that phrase. I guess the only positive part for me is how the story ends up. It's an instance in which the long arm of the law...
Because he came to a sticky end.
Well, yeah, because they got him and they beat him to death. And they're pretty sure it was him. Some of the clues were there. There was a missing tractor that I think was from the other story. all these wheels everywhere. And his stomach was dicky as you like.
And the smell.
Yeah. The smell, yeah. There was a real putrid odour to that man. And if you stink that bad, then you probably might have been a backwards nonce.
Yeah.
I think we can rest easy knowing that the Met have got our backs.
Wow. Well done, those guys.
One such story which we can't, I'm afraid, dear listener, constant reader, provide you with any conclusion to, because it's ongoing, is one that I know haunts your dreams in particular, Declan, because of your personal ties to the case. And I don't mean to bring this up to upset you. I don't want to just launch into this without. Right. So maybe if I just pause for a second. Okay, I just asked and he's fine having a chat about it.
I don't know what it is, but keep going for it.
It's Terry Turner, the Babbis burner. Terry Turner, the Babbis burner of Hockley.
You're just gonna throw.
Well, I'll
just gonna throw Terry at me like that.
It's healthy to discuss these things. I know that's your.
I don't know how much help we could be.
I'm not saying we're going to solve it, but it's worth discussing because the more people that know the facts, the more people might be able to stop another Babbis
volume
burnt.
Of Babbis burn.
You could power a city,
and he did.
Which
Hockley.
Oh God, the city of Hockley. Let's just go over some of the facts of the case. A dead rat was found buried in the ground. That's not that unusual at all. I'm sorry, I think that was just incidental. Drops of foul-smelling liquid are found on walls of the stockroom. Drops of blood were found on walls of the laundry room. A single bloody handprint was found buried under a shrub. And a corpse was found on a tree.
And, I'm no fan of Terry, but it felt like we really were looking to find evidence when we found the buried handprint under a shrub. You're unlucky to have that sort of evidence found.
Yeah. Now, Terry is everyone knows Terry. Anyone who's reads the papers, goes to the movies, has seen the various
they may have seen other programs
in which he features. But the reality of Terry is quite different from the kind of fictionalized image that we have. I don't know about you, but I get the sense that at least the true crime podcast scene, they're sort of lauding Terry as this ultimate.
Well, they fetishize it.
They do, and that's always been our problem with true crime. Whether it's that one that didn't play our promo, which I would like to exclusively reveal was called
True Crime Obsessed?
Yeah. They're a bunch of fucking double-crossing dweebs. And I believe one of them is Terry Tubbs Babbis
burning
Barno.
all the babies.
Yeah, he wasn't called
Sorry,
Tubbs, the Babbis, yeah. Whether it's them or it's Dialing for Crime, these are programmes which foster a kind of entertainment response.
It's a callous way to look at the crimes of Terry.
A man who has so far, will in the future, and probably presently is burning Babbis.
At the drop of a hat.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Now, we should explain some of Terry's backstory, and of course, like I've alluded to your personal connection, you were almost one of his victims when you were a Babbis.
Yeah, and that was weird because I wasn't even anywhere near Hockley when I was about myself.
So, which kind of paints you or your family as suspects, I suppose, in that regard.
Well, I wouldn't say so myself.
It's interesting, I suppose, that the only known Babbis burning prior to his activity in Hockley was you.
Yeah.
Kind of the boy who lived of the Babbis burning universe.
Yeah, I don't have any scars. Not physical.
No.
Anyway.
No. Well, not ones that we've seen.
No.
Not ones that you've seen.
Effectively,
Babbis' skin is like plasticine.
Terry, he used to work exclusively between the hours of 6 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Yeah, and what was his profession that allowed for such a leisurely life?
Well, he was a freelance tutor.
Ah, okay.
But he specialised in the teaching of babies.
Right, Babbis, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, Babbis. He would teach. He would purport to teach them things like
fire safety. When in actual fact, if you look closely,
anything but. Really, well, most of his defence, when it finally went to trial, was based around the fact that...
Oh, no, I did say he was still at large.
He escaped.
Ah, yes, I forgot about that one.
But most of his defence, and of course, like all arsonists...
Arsonists, we call them.
He represented himself.
Yeah.
Was based around this idea that actually he hadn't committed a crime. It was simply that the Babbis had not sufficiently followed his tuition.
It was a lot like that Study in Scarlet Sherlock Holmes story. You know, the one where a lot of nonsense happens. It transpires there's a cab driver who is basically causing people to die by offering them this weird, like, impossible challenge, but he isn't technically killing them, and so he wants to kind of get off on that technicality. I think Terry, a very literary man as he was, Terry Turner, the Babbis burner.
Yeah.
He took inspiration from the greats.
And it was a shame for him and for the character in Study in Scarlet that actually that doesn't count.
Well, no. Because a Babbis burnt is a Babbis earned. And by earned, I mean 10 more years in the nick.
It's weird. And he did that thing in court.
Yeah.
Where he presented it and then he kind of sat back with a smile.
It was a mic drop moment, wasn't it? A smirk on his face.
And then he
chilled me to the marrow.
He sat down and then his kind of his court-appointed attorney, who obviously Terry did not allow to speak for him, just leant over and whispered, and Terry just sort of did a disbelieving. He was in denial. Even. Shake of the head until the judge said, "You are a fucking div, Terry.
Yeah, Turner.
You killed all the Babbis with fire.
Yeah, you're a burner of Babbis.
You're going to the baby jail."
Yeah. But not now. We must specify because this was a cause of much concern in the press.
This was a real misstep by the judge.
Yeah, he thought how better, like what a great contrapasso than to put him with a lot of unburnt Babbis for all time. But it turns out to Terry, these were little more than fresh meat, fresh uncharred,
state-provided victims,
Babbis fuel, and boy did he go to town in what some have called the greatest miscarriage of Babby justice.
And there was a kind of a prophetic moment from Terry himself in the trial when he was sentenced there, where he said, "I'm going to burn that fucking place to the ground," and people wondered what he meant. And it was only days later that the real clarity of his ability to foresee
came into and some have said that it's supernatural, but I don't know. I think the jury's out on that.
I think he was just always one step ahead.
Yeah, as he has been ever since. He taunts the police regularly with sort of weird...
It's about to start a Vine video.
Vines that I can quote from memory. Let's just get some of those spooky sounds back up. Since that fateful kind of Babbis burning, we've seen, like I say, movies, programmes abound on Terry. And they always hint that although, yes, he's not as active today as he once was, an older man by now, he must be, 25, 30 even, that Terry is just kind of biding his time. Is that something that you see as likely? Is he like the cicada, maybe just in hibernation for one more 17-year it-like cycle before the Babbis burnings begin anew?
I think that he's quite possibly... elsewhere in the world, honing his Babbis burning techniques, somewhere where British law and democracy can't touch him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking somewhere like Venezuela. Because they'll let you get away with anything out there, as I read that on the news.
Yeah, well, the news wouldn't mislead us about that.
And I think that he's just waiting, because weirdly, another of the flaws, I suppose, of the British criminal justice system,
of which there are many,
which has been exposed through this, is that the statute of limitations on baby burning is 6 weeks.
And some of the Babbis weren't even 4 weeks old.
And so really, any minute now he could be back, and there's nothing that we can do.
Yeah, it will only be a matter of years before what Terry referred to as the baptisms of fire begin once again, with a very... wow. I mean, one hates to imagine what it must be like, but boy, they must burn bright.
Well, that's as they ascend.
Yeah. Into what? The next life? Into...
No, just in the sky.
I see, like ash.
Smoke.
God, rest his soul.
What, Terry?
No, the Babbis.
Oh, okay.
The last one I want to look at today is, I've saved him for last because, like I alluded to, he's by far the most evil. And honestly...
What? So, worse than Terry?
Yeah, worse than Terry.
Oh, I don't know that. I know that.
Worse than Terry. You might not know about him. He's kind of an underground chap.
I don't want to... I don't want to cast any kind of aspersions or anything.
Right.
But I think that one of the signs that we do live in a society...
Yeah, well, we do.
Most of the people...
We do, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, just...
Most of the people on this list...
Yeah.
Well, they're men, aren't they? They're white men.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Who else is going to fucking...
Well, apart from the witch.
Oh, was she not a white man?
No.
No, she was a white woman.
Yeah. But she did have dreads. She was a white woman with dreads, and so that's basically a white man.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I want to hit you with this guy, and I don't want to scare you. I know it's 11:15. You're going to be going to bed soon. I don't want to fill your night with the kind of terror that will cause you to wake
Please don't.
in a screamo, as you sometimes do.
Oh,
have you done so far in the new flat?
No.
Okay,
too comfortable.
Maybe tonight is the time. When I tell you of a figure who is dog-like with claws and has been known to appear out of nowhere in the outskirts of town. You know the outskirts of town?
Oh, yeah.
Very rarely the middle of town, often the outskirts.
Yeah.
Strange lights have been seen over a car on the winter solstice.
On the winter solstice?
I don't know if that's related. An ice cream cone was found floating over an ice cream van. I think that might have just been advertising. A truck found embedded in a tree. Someone appeared out of nowhere.
Oh, no!
I'm talking, of course, unless it were not obvious, of Barry Toole and the Pool Hall Cagoule.
Barry Toole and the Pool Hall Cagoule.
Yeah. Need I say any more?
Nope.
Cool. Well, that's it, isn't it?
He was one evil Cagoule wearing
and he
Pool Hall
is.
haunting
He's been
Barry.
seen around recently.
Has he?
Yeah.
Where?
On the outskirts.
Oh, no!
Were you listening?
Oh, he was the dog-like figure.
Idiot. Time is reported to reverse near the scrub. So, you want to watch out for that.
He's a scrub as well. No way!
God, a pet turns out to be a deadly monster. A pet turns out to be a deadly infected.
Oh, a deadly infected monster?
I guess so. Suddenly, a fuzzy mechanic vanished without a trace. All of that is Barry Toole, the Pool Hall Cagoule's doing. Barry Toole, the Pool Hall Cagoule. A man who picked a name so cumbersome that the police have been unable to even enter it into the database.
Couldn't be bothered to find him.
Yeah.
Oh no. And how did he die?
He's still alive.
Oh God.
And he's made it clear that he never plans to die. And that he can't imagine him. He says, I can't imagine me dying. I can imagine someone like you dying. But not someone like me.
And quite possibly by his hand.
Yeah.
Or Q.
Now, one rumour that I want to put to bed, because I think this is foolish, I think it's fear-mongering, I don't think we should be party to it on That's a Shame, is that Barry Toole, the Pool Hall Cagoule, might, now this is, like I say, this is a strong maybe, have teamed up with Terry Turner, the Babbis burner, to form some kind of unholy alliance based on, yes, Babbis burning, but also some kind of coat drowning.
Or throwing ice cream cones over
now,
vans.
A pool hall isn't where a swimming pool is, of course. I just remembered. Yeah, it's where you play pool.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a weapon, isn't it? The pool hall. You can weaponise the club, the pool club, the pool ball as well, if you throw it at a Babbis.
Or if you just hold it, or maybe put some of them in some socks.
Or you could stuff someone into one of the pockets and then probably
set the table on fire.
It's a perfect storm.
It writes itself.
It really
But
does.
that's not true, you were saying.
I don't know. The jury's out.
Goodness me.
It only remains for us to see if, I don't know, something might happen to Declan. I don't know. Let's just.
No, well, hang on a minute.
I'm not.
Why would it just be me?
Well, because we want to use you as bait. Because you've got a Babbis-like quality.
So why do we want to use me as bait?
Because you're going to be able to handle the physical elements while I'll be there to swoop in.
I'm not wearing a costume.
You don't have to.
Okay.
You've got a kind of Babbis face. You've got a Babbis complexion, and yet the kind of presence of a man who likes a game of pool.
Yeah, sorry, we should have mentioned that more specifically Terry's known as Terry Turner, the bearded Babbis burner.
Yeah, that's
he only burns bearded Babbis.
Yeah.
And that's why actually he's innocent. There were none.
Having been very, very few thus far, get his grubby mitts on. Yeah, but if you're willing, and it sounds like you are, then I think we should try and set up some kind of sting operation. Maybe get the Dial M team involved.
Okay.
Just to see if we can't pin down some of these lads once and for all.
What I'll do, I'll just douse myself in petrol. So I'm literally seconds away from being a burnt Babbis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that
hang
gets
out
him,
by the pool hall.
Well, that gets him horny as hell.
Now, will you be wearing the cagoule? Will you be near a cagoule?
No, you await
brandishing it like a bull.
You await the cagoule.
Like a matador, not a bull. I've inverted their roles there. Yeah. Well, I guess all that remains to be said is stay careful out there, guys. Keep your eyes not to the skies, but to the outskirts of the skies. Sometimes to the outskirts of the lands, whether it's by hook or by crook, by wheel or by Babbis burning, cagoule. Ghoul, there's danger everywhere you look, and this world is intent on having you killed. Yeah?
Lock up your Babbis.
Lock up your Babbis. Until episode 159, I've been Isaac, you've been...
I've been Declan.
Stay safe, won't you?
Bye, guys.
The bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you.